Harry, are you looking to expand the index? And if so, what would the mix look like, or what period of time? What is the outlook really out here? Because the energy transition theme is gaining momentum, especially around the oil story right now. And so, how are you going to be looking to encapsulate that in this index? Because that would also then filter through the kind of returns the index generates over a period of time.
Sure. So when I talk about the heavy footprint companies when it comes to fossil fuels, it did include, when it comes to energy transition, companies that have high percentage of revenue proportion coming from coal-fired power plants as well. So that is already in place, specifically in the energy sector. When we look at the overall development, this also goes down to development of data. As more companies have disclosure around carbon intensity. So not all companies out there disclose that figure today. And then on a regular basis, we would essentially review the constituents to ensure that the latest reflection is in there. Now, there is the OCBC IH Singapore Low Carbon Index. The other one, which is IH Singapore Low Carbon Index, does not have a capping in terms of top 50 in terms of market cap. It would be thus looking at a much broader economy base, including some of the smaller and mid-cap companies as well.
Right. What role particularly do you see financials playing in this regard? Because, they all talk about a coordinated effort in energy transition, whether it's businesses, whether it's the banks, the funding channels, as well as the government. The representation of financials in the index, could you talk a little bit more about how that's going to play out going forward? Because I think, to me, that is the centerpiece of how effectively this process runs.
Yes. So investors do have a huge role to play in a significant transition to come, especially in Asia Pacific. What I mean by that is, if we drill down the specific types of ESG investing strategies that investors use today, in particular looking at that transition piece or energy transition as well. There are components that investors apply. For example, one may actually decide to divest out of companies altogether, but that may work in conjunction with companies who are in transition and who are already leaders in a certain sector, and gearing the company towards a lower transition reality. So if we talk about theory of change, the fact that an investor is going to be engaging as a shareholder with a company to say, we as your shareholder believe that you should take into consideration a strategy towards a low carbon revenue source, business operations, etc. So as a direct stakeholder of a company, investors have a very significant role to play.